you know, something that really lends to that style of composition.
Absolutely.
But here we go. Champion Select is underway once more. This time Cyclone on the blue side. They're not having any of Ziv's LeBlanc.
They couldn't deal with that. We know. I actually don't think that Ziv has had an outstanding game on LeBlanc, but
the thing is, I think he offered that pressure, right?
Exactly.
He was always there somewhere.
Split push pressure was huge from Ziv, and his ability to lock that Darius up in team fights. And actually, that's something that meant that Non-Center had to go to the side lane to wave clear against Ziv because the 1-3-1 opened up. And then that meant that the mid lane couldn't defend against the siege, and eventually that pressure overwhelmed and cracked, and they eventually got a huge siege to that mid lane because the pressure that Zivs was building up in a side lane. So I agree. I think the ban of the LeBlanc is perfectly warranted. Camille and exceL, nothing changing here for exceL Esports.
Yeah, you have to assume that the exceL is a targeted ban at this point, but Zyra will be banned away as well from Cyclone. So kind of two respect bans coming out at this stage.
Absolutely. Orcs is essentially, he kind of mentioned last season, I am a one-trick Zyra, like I'm just the best at Zyra and everything else kind of comes below that in terms of my play. You could see it that game. There was a couple of early nerves, some grasping routes that went awry, but eventually he settled in, got back into that Zyra groove, and he was incredibly potent. Actually, exceL are going to respect the Karma, which kind of leads us to a new first pick strategy for Cyclone, and wow.
Yeah. I mean, when you've got this many respect bans, when you've got this many target bans coming through, it means some of the power picks will slide through as well. That's going to be Demo picking up Lee Sin. We saw him on Rengar last game. Also an aggressive jungler. This time, he's going to have a lot more pressure in those very early stages.
And also, it takes it away from Nocturnal Plex because it was banned last game against Nocturnal Plex because of the risk of exceL first picking it. This means Demo's going to get his hands on it, and now Nocturnal Plex will have to think about a jungler that he feels he can contend with Lee Sin on. And I actually think exceL is perfectly viable for him. He's thinking about the Rengar, though, and he is going to lock in the Rengar. I know Plex, he's probably not going to build tank. I really want to see that full aggressive Rengar come out from him, especially if Tolkien gets put onto a tank.
So now, final pick here for exceL, well, final pick of this rotation. Where do they go from here? They've matched the jungle. I mean, I arguably would have liked to see the Rengar just kind of saved and pick up two power picks.
I think Ryze is a really good pickup here. Given that Syndra and LeBlanc are banned, Ryze is the most powerful pick I think you could take in that situation.
And also, last time we saw Ziviz on the main stage, Ryze was super powerful at the time, and he was more than happy to pick that up every single game. Obviously, Ryze changes every patch or two, so it's a completely different champion now. But, you know, it's still that the core base of the champion is still the same. It's going to be a Orianna. Nearly said Zyra for some reason. Going to be locked in for Non-Hunter. So, you know, fairly decent in that lane. Both of these are going to go fairly even, but also Caitlyn locked in for Latch.
Doesn't give too much away about the composition other than that they're going to have great siege.
Yep.
So this is obviously the working up towards a siege composition. Now, if I were exceL, I would potentially think about taking away one of the siege tanks and then banning some more in the next phase. Because you probably want Maokai on Nautilus, and then you want to wipe Poppy and the other that you don't pick off, so that they don't have excellent dive in the top lane. But they are going to actually take the Malzahar support here, which leads us to this ban phase, which is going to be a little bit more interesting. I would think about Varus. I think Varus or Ashe would be good bans here for Cyclone because you've picked up the Caitlyn, so you want to kind of limit what Jokerism can pick. So
I gotta say, I don't dislike the Malzahar pickup here as well. It takes it away from the Caitlyn, importantly, which means that wave clear will be a little bit weaker from that side of things. With Zyra and Karma already banned as well, it means that it's going to be Latch. Will struggle to clear away those waves as effectively as if he'd had that Malzahar beside him. But Misfortune, the first ban coming out from exceL, so trying to get rid of as many of these AP supports as possible.
Well, yeah, obviously Misfortune kind of anti-AP support more than anything, but it means that actually Orcs is going to have a moderately decent time in lane, as well as Karma being off the table too. There aren't actually that many supports left open that realistically, Nami, good with Caitlyn. Thresh is still up there as well. Now this ban phase is coming through. The interesting thing about this now remaining ban phase is that exceL are not going to get surprised by the top lane. The top lane will get picked up by Cyclone, and I imagine exceL are going to leave it till last. They will take their AD carry on next rotation because it's basically risk-free, and then Tolkien, arguably their highest-rated player right now, will have that potential to pick a good matchup for him this time round. He's not going to get surprised by something like a Darius, which is probably going to play into their favor because I feel like Tolkien is such a key member of exceL in terms of their wins. I much prefer him having the advantage over his opposition. Now the bans being thought about heavily here with Poppy ban. I would even be tempted to ban like a Maokai or Nautilus and say to exceL, if you don't want to take it, then on this next rotation, then we're gonna pick it, and then you have to pick something into it, and you've lost one of the big 3 tanks in the top lane. That's a very clever ban for me from Cyclone, because if exceL don't first pick Nautilus, then they've lost one of the top 3 tanks in the top lane. But if they do pick Nautilus, Tolkien could get locked into another situation where he's going up against Darius and just straight up losing.
But Darius didn't really work out for Cyclone last game, so maybe exceL are willing to take that risk. Maybe they're going to say, no, go for it. But looks like they are going to lock in the Varus. Don't know what that extra ban is. I assume Nautilus, maybe. We'll see on this Cyclone pick, because I'd assume that the Nautilus will be picked up.
If you're going to ban something, there's only 2 roles left, right? So you'd either ban a support or a top laner. And there we go. This is exactly the strategy that we talked about in that second ban phase. They've said there's no big tanks remaining. We will take the Nautilus, but we know that Tolkien is an excellent carry top laner. This is exactly what exceL want, because now they have the option for Tolkien to do exactly what he loves, which is pick up a carry and perform on it. It is a lot of pressure on him, however, to perform on that level of carry. So, as well as the fact that that might mean Plex gets locked into a more tanky build, because Tolkien might take a front-running sort of build there.
With Braum being the hover here, I'm assuming that last ban was Nami.
Or Thresh.
Or Thresh, maybe, yeah. I don't know. I don't rate Thresh as highly as I think you do. I think the AP supports often have a bigger advantage, but, I mean, we don't know what the ban is, so let's move on conversation.
Thresh is hard to actually...
They actually missed their ban, apparently.
Oh, they missed their ban, okay.
But I suppose...
That's
to some extent, that is a strategy in itself, right? Allow more picks to be open, especially if you only get the first pick. We'll see.
There we go.
Fiora locked in. Tolkien, he has his carry top laner. The question is, can he perform on it now? Can he carry this team in that split push role?
I mean, if we talked about that draft phase, it played out exactly as we thought it might.
Yeah.
And Tolkien locks in the Fiora to take to the top lane. I think this was exceL's strategy all along. I actually think Cyclone did the work for them, because I imagine that exceL were going to ban out one of the tanks maybe anyway to force this situation to happen. The only issue here is you are going to get locked into a 1-3-1 eventually, and you will have to rely on Varus and Malzahar to stop that siege coming out, which is excellent siege, by the way. So, if Kerberos decided to dive, as well as the Orianna and the Caitlyn being there, as well as the Braum, there's probably not many ways for exceL to stop that, and then you have to rely on Tolkien being aggressive enough and forward push enough in the top lane or whatever side lane he happens to be in to reap some reward for that sort of misendeavor in the mid lane or wherever else you will be defending. So exceL have locked themselves into a very one-way strategy here, as we always see with Fiora, which is always split push. And exceL are going to have to try and make their work, and that relies on Tolkien getting ahead.
Yeah, and you've got to bring into question, are Cyclone going to be able to play like we saw Fnatic Academy play in the CSQ, where they kind of just run with this Nautilus in the top lane, you've got Lee Sin in the jungle, and then you've got just a strong mid laner and a strong AD carry that can clear away waves and are very good at sieging. You just set up for this 4-man tower dive in the bottom lane, take that first tower, and then just roll from there, because with a squishy composition like exceL have, they might really struggle if they start to fall behind and they start to lose these towers. It's going to be very difficult for them to counter-push.
I mean, you can't stop Nautilus and Lee Sin tower diving you if they want to tower dive you. You have very little mechanics to sort of ward them away. Realistically, your wave clear is coming from Varus and Malzahar, and if you need to bring Ziviz on this rise back, he has got a decent slew of wave clear in his kit as well. But again, that just provides another target potentially for Cyclone to try and force the issue with. But like you said, it comes down to whether they can force the issue. You're not going to push that bot lane in. Look at the bot lane. Caitlyn, Braum versus Malzahar, Varus. Who wins that push every single time? Malzahar, Varus. There's no way as a Caitlyn Braum that you're going to push them in. So setting up for a tier 1 tower dive might actually be very difficult. And this is why you see a lot of people put pressure on picking a bot lane that has got strong push, because that bot lane tier 1 is so influential. We saw it for exceL last game. It catapulted them to the win, and that has been the same through the Challenger Series qualification as well. Everyone is putting priority on the bot side of the map. And I don't think the push is there for Cyclone. I don't think, unless they get a gank in lane, they ever find a siege potential on that tier 1 in a laning phase. I'm willing to put that out there and say it. I genuinely think it's going to be hard for them to make that happen.
We'll have to see whether they can kind of make that scenario occur, or whether it is just going to be kind of extended laning phases like we're used to seeing throughout League of Legends history. It's going to be certainly an interesting scenario to see how Cyclone choose to play this one out. Definitely, exceL's roster, it's safe to say, is a very snowbally roster. Should like Nocturnal Plex get ahead, if Tolkien gets ahead, if Zivis gets ahead, all 3 of those will just run with that lead and go as far as they can. But on the other side of the lineup, when you look at Cyclone, they have very, very safe laners. You know, Caitlyn Braum is very difficult to really make anything happen on if you're trying to force an engage. You've got Orianna, who, assuming Flash is up, is one of the safest mid laners, just in terms of you can just farm, you can keep yourself very safe, you trade very well into most mid laners.
Interestingly, Hunter has taken heal on his Orianna pick here, instead of something like a Ghost, which means that once the flashes burn, as Vedius has always told me, Orianna becomes one of the most vulnerable mid laners in the game, and against a Ryze, that might become even more of an issue. And post 6, that's going to be even more of an issue because of the gank potential of the Rengar.
Well, I can let you guys know that we are going to be quickly remaking the lobby. All the picks and bans will be the same, but unfortunately someone locked in a banned skin, so we just have to remake that game quickly and just head straight back into the action so we can have a nice fair game. No faulty particles hitting or anything.
Go
like
Spider
that.
Morgana at it again.
I Blitzcrank, where are you? But yeah, should be able to get this game underway shortly for you guys and kick things off once again. Apologies about this slight delay.
So I guess I'll expand on sort of what we were talking about here, because Orianna won't shove in the Ryze early on. What Ryze can do against Orianna is he will always have that advantage in wave push. That will also mean the bot lane also has the advantage in wave push. And actually, despite Fiora probably winning the matchup with Nautilus, Nautilus might shove Fiora in earlier just because Riptide is so good at clearing waves. But that means you're going to have limited opportunities to find tower dives in the early game onto a tier 1, even mid lane, bot lane, or maybe even top lane. You might have limited opportunities, which I'm going to sneeze.
Bless you.
I pressed the button, don't worry, no one heard it. No one heard it.
No one knew.
No one knew except for I looked hilarious on stream. You're not going to find many opportunities to start that snowball process off, whereas exceL will have more opportunities. I'm just going to casually wipe my nose. Nice. That's one. I'm just going to... You can talk now. I'm going to just refresh.
Solid stuff coming out here. Champion Select is underway once again on my screen. So we should be able to bring that up for you guys once more. But it will be exactly the same.
And I've gone bright red, and Joe's trying to remain sensible.
Apparently we're not going to be showing you guys Champion Select. You guys at home, you don't get Champion Select. Only I get Champion Select. But they will just be rattling through it and getting straight into game ASAP anyway. So nothing really to be watching. And I mean, across these compositions then, we've talked a lot about Cyclone, like how they have to play out their composition to, you know, force the issue and make things happen. Like we talked about the tower dive in the bottom lane. What is exceL's plan going to be in the early game? Do they just have to wait for a while before they can really make their composition effective?
Not really. I mean, like you said, you're always going to have to shove from them. But you probably won't see too much action happen in tower dive situations because they don't really have a composition that's suited to it. You know, Fiora's not likely going to teleport down and facilitate a tower dive because she won't be able to tank a tower dive. Neither will Rengar in the early game. But what you might see is them make picks or then make solo kills in the top lane potentially and then snowball off that. So they don't necessarily need to force it under a tower to make those advantages happen. What they can do is, you know, look for a kill in the mid lane. They can look for a sort of a roaming kill with the Ryze and a Rengar post 6 ultimate in the bot lane, you know, off the back of a chain of corruption, for instance, and then capitalize on one of the towers, you know. And actually, Ryze himself might be able to facilitate a top bot lane tower dive if that bot lane is low enough to make sure that you don't have to go in on a full-on sort of 100-0 tower dive situation, because that's the things where it can kind of go kind of awkwardly, especially against the Braum with Unbreakable and his ultimate. So exceL probably win more from gank-orientated laning phase wins, where you know Rengar comes in, makes an impact, then works with his laners to push onto a turret. Whereas if you ever get the push, which is not likely for the early game for Cyclone, you have a more classical tier 1 tower diving composition where Nautilus can teleport, Lee Sin can find a flank, and then you can just stick everybody there after that teleport and Lee Sin flank gank, and then just take a tier 1. But I just don't think that's going to happen, because I think that both Caitlyn and Braum are going to have a very tough time pushing in the Varus and the Malzahar, like we said. So, you know, one of the main things, if you want to set up a tower dive, the first thing you've got to do is get your minion wave to the tower. It might be difficult for Cyclone.
Yeah, it might well be difficult. We'll see how that's going to pan out. One big kind of talking point I want to cover is Demo up against Nocturnal Plex here, Lee Sin up against Rengar. How much of this game for Cyclone is on Demo's shoulders to really put that pressure out in the early game while Rengar's trying to find level 6?
I think there is a bit of sort of pressure on his shoulders to do so. He might not be able to sort of invade easily, because if you've got laners that are pushing up against you and your laners are stuck under tower, which is what we're expecting to be the case, the laners from exceL will be able to respond to a counter jungle invade, and that could be real issue for Demo. But the pressure is on him to potentially look to impact lanes more readily than we've seen Plex do on Rengar, because I think Plex likely is going to be trying to farm to 6. He is going to be trying to get towards his ultimate very quickly, so then he can look to impact lanes. And I know Plex can do that very nicely. So I think there is some pressure on Demo's shoulders, but not so much so, because I still think that Lee Sin, if he counter ganks a Rengar gank, is still very strong. You know, even with the Dragon's Rage nerf kick, he should be able to find some element of counter gank potential. Although I don't know, actually I hesitate to say that. We saw how little damage the Dragon's Rage kick did last game, so I think we'll have to see how this plays out. I think actually the nerf to Dragon's Rage kick might be enough to say that Lee Sin's counter gank potential isn't quite as strong post 6 anymore.
I think the biggest thing that nerf does is you can't really use Dragon Rage as like that execute anymore. That's not the role it fulfills anymore. It's now more of a it's more of a utility, right? It's more of a CC. Yeah. It's more to catch someone out and force the issue with your team following you up, rather than just it being pure damage like it has been used previously. We are now onto Summoner's Rift, ladies and gentlemen. So let's kick this action off. Fourth and final game of the day here between Cyclone and exceL. We'll see who's going to be able to take the better of this situation. Certainly feels like exceL's draft has been on point. And look at this, Cyclone once again grouping up. Going to be trying to find some deep vision. I don't think they'll quite be able to get on top of that scenario just yet.
Yeah, they're just trying to keep eyes on where Nocturnal Plex could be starting. Although look at this from Tolkien and Nocturnal Plex, because this was essentially exactly what they did last time. They went to the side of the jungle that they thought that they were going to start on, and then sort of rotated back. Although actually now I think they have an indication that Tolkien and Nocturnal Plex are here.
This could get spicy, Zivvies. It's going to be around as well. Tolkien and Plex in a really awkward spot here. There's a tower in between them and Freedom. And it's going to be Kerberos actually starting. He stood exactly on their ward. They know exactly where he is. Actually, so it means the Demo will be starting on the blue buff. How do you get out of here?
Are exceL going to stick around for this? exceL could try and move in and stick around and try and take out Demo early on. This is a very risky play for exceL to make, because it delays Nocturnal Plex ever so slightly. But Zivvies looks like he's on hand. And actually, they may try and do this.
Looks like they will go for this one. It's going to be Plex and Tolkien. If Plex could smite away the blue buff, that would be enough of an advantage taken. Demo's just realized what's going on. The blue buff will get smited away by Demo. He gets level 2 now. This is a bad fight for exceL at this stage. But damage will come out from Tolkien. He can do a lot in these early fights. Kerberos goes down.
Wow.
First blood secured.
Wow.
Demo will fall as well. What a start to the game. exceL soaring ahead as Tolkien grabs a double.
The risky early play plays off, and now your side laner designed to split push and get ahead is 2-0 up at 2 minutes and 16 into the game. It is a dream start for exceL, but they need to continue the pressure. Blue buff transferred to Tolkien as well. Let's have a look at this here. Like you said, it looked like it was going away from exceL. I think a very preemptive flash from Demo left him feeling fairly immobile. He also went and got level 2. I don't know what he picked up. Did he pick up the Tempest Cripple or did he pick up the Safeguard? He picked up the Safeguard.
We actually have a fight going on live right now in the bottom lane. I think both teams will disengage in the end.
Oh, good.
But that was a couple of summoners burnt there. Heal from Latch and Exhaust from Orcs. So trading fairly evenly, all things considered.
So Lee Sin actually went Safeguard as his second spell there, trying to safeguard Kerberos to try and keep him alive, but against a level 1 Rengar and level 1 Fiora, it might be better to go Tempest and Cripple just to get the early damage out. The movement speed slow as well could have been ideal. Ziv is taken very low, has to flash against Hunter in the mid lane.
Yeah, that's the second time in this series. Second time out of 2 games that Nonsunter has really pressured Zivis right at the start of the game and forced to summon around.
In a matchup that realistically Ryze should not be getting pressured in early. That's the funny thing. Zivis has found difficulty in the early game in both times against Hunter. It's just until the later stage of the game where he starts to come alive. But he hasn't got teleport, so he's not going to be able to get back to lane very quickly, as Hunter was kind of slow pushing and waiting for him to go back. But that will give Nocturnal Plex pressure in terms of getting some experience in this mid lane. He will lose his blue buff for it, though, as you can see pings are coming down.
Demo will be able to kick this one off. There is a ward on it, though, so actually don't know whether Demo will be able to grab this before himself. Could be in trouble on this one. Will now find Nocturnal Plex is there. Smites away the blue buff. Gets the bowler onto Demo, who is having a terrible game so far. I do not envy Demo in this situation.
Really nice ward by Nocturnal Plex with a very quick rotation from his team as well. A no flash Lee Sin. Didn't have any wards to jump to by it looks either. And Demo is having a tough time on a pick that they prioritized as first. I mean, you've got to start questioning whether the Lee Sin pickup was a solid one for him, although let's be honest, he had a very tough early game.
I don't think this is about him as a player or the Lee Sin pick specifically. I think this is just, they are really focusing. Tolkien with a solo kill in the top lane. He is running away. We said, Tolkien, if he can get a carry top laner, he might just be able to run away with the game. He absolutely is. We're just 5 minutes into the game and he's already 3-0-0.
And he's picked up a Tiamat, which is going to equal that wave pressure that a Nautilus will have.
1,300 gold ahead.
It's insane.
5 minutes. That is ridiculous.
I mean, you give him a 2-0 on any top lane, he probably has it as a good time, but I mean, this is a fantastic start of him. And do you know what? I love the way that he left the lane as well, because the lane now pushes towards him quite slowly, doesn't need to burn teleport, and now Kerberos is forced to go toe-to-toe with him again because the way that he stacked the wave up. Really nice play from Tolkien. He's probably got complete control of this lane. Lee Sin is going to have to make some crazy antics happen up here, even if he bothers. It might be beyond the point of bothering at this point now.
Yeah, might just be one of those ones where you kind of have to sacrifice the lane and just say, do you know what? This is out of our control. There's nothing more we can do on this one. Tolkien freezing this lane up. Obviously, the Hydra will kind of put a little bit of a stopper on that plan. You can't really freeze very well with that Hydra in play. Or Tiamat, I suppose, rather than Hydra. But it will mean he will eventually push that out once again. But all things considered, this has been looking pretty great for exceL. What a phenomenal start to the game.
It all stemmed from that very risky early play on that blue buff. I think Nocturnal Plex and Tolkien realized they were boxed in, and they said, you know what, should we just go for it? should we just try and take him on at his blue buff? And it worked out excellently for them. The only worry that I'm having is Zivis is struggling in this Orianna matchup against Hunter. Really struggling. And, you know, and that realistically shouldn't quite be the case for Ryze. In the Challenger Series, we saw most Ryzes comfortably shove the Orianna in early, and it looks like Zivis is having real struggle.
We do have a fight in the bottom lane that I just completely missed. 1 versus 1 right there. Make it 2 as Jokerism grabs himself a kill off the back of that fight. Latch actually getting flashed onto by Plex. Can't quite finish the damage, and Jokerism doesn't have mana to finish it. Plex so low. Latch can't quite hit his built-over Peacemaker. And now Plex trying to get back under the tower here. Jokerism will catch up as well. This should surely be a kill over to the AD carry. Nonsunter getting a solo kill in the mid lane, but somehow diving all the way to a tier 2. All things considered, exceL still winning out these scenarios.
Yeah, Zivis will be happy with a 1-for-1 trade given how the lane was going, because Hunter burnt both heal and flash there, and actually Zivis burnt nothing because he didn't have flash available. So he must have been pretty low under... You've got to stipulate that he was low under turret and then was trying to clear a wave, and he kind of walked away, and that was Nonsunter looking for a potential executing kill on him. But again, all of these trades going in favor of exceL. They've built up a 3k gold lead, a 1 level advantage in the top lane, but it's probably soon to be 2 at this point in time. Kerberos taken very low. And I like the way that he's waiting for Kerberos to land a basic attack on him before using riposte.
Oh, look at this. Grand Challenge will come on down. Should be able to finish things off. If he can get the heal, he might just survive yet. Will go down to the tower in the end, though. Nice presence of mind from Demo to be there.
He knew that he was going to die to tower, so he was thinking about flashing, realized that tower is going to be the executing blow anyway, and just gave himself up. But again, it's pressure that he's putting onto Kerberos. Look at that CS disadvantage that is opened up. It's almost double for Tolkien at this point in time. He's looking very strong, picks up the Phage as well, which is going to give him great pressure and extended trades. And Demo has to be in almost every lane at once at this point. Top lane cannot be your focus when you've got a Rengar that's going to be looking to impact bot lane and mid lane all the time. You know, you're post 6 for Rengar now. This is a great position for the Rengar to be in, and you can't babysit a Nautilus when your carry potential is lying in your Orianna and your Caitlyn.
Yeah, I mean, when you consider the fact that it was bad enough when it was just Tolkien getting way ahead. We actually have a fight in the mid lane. Demo managing to trade this one back 1-for-1 so far, and Ziviz looks to be going down as well. Demo will get caught by the Rune Prison, but Sonic Wave lands. Double kill for Demo, living up to his name on that Lee Sin.
Demolishing people. Yep. Hell yeah. I mean, Demo came in at the right time. I feel like that was a bit of an overextension by Plex and Ziviz. It looks like they took a lot of damage from turret in the meantime too. I definitely feel like bot lane is going to be a key lane for exceL, and I think that's maybe where Plex could look to impact, because it's mid lane. I think things can get turned around quite nastily if they aren't careful, as Tolkien looks to come in and at least clear the wave here in the mid lane.
Yeah, but I mean, as I was saying before, the lead is huge in the top lane, and that's kind of a given at this point. But the really scary thing for Cyclone is the fact that Jokerism also 2-0-2 with a CS lead. Right now, Demo is their shining light. He's the one that really has to make things happen for this team.
So is Hunter. He's got a 20 CS lead over Ziviz at this point in time as well. So, you know, there is 2 lanes where, in the jungle and the mid lane, where Cyclone have a small advantage, and this could be, I say small advantage, you're still 1-1-6 as Nocturnal Plex right now. So you're still hugely influential across the map.
It's a 500 gold gap between mid and jungle, both in favor of Cyclone, but I mean, that gold gap is already dwarfed just by top lane alone.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's a huge advantage for Tolkien here. The experience advantage has been closed up, though, so it's just that CS gap that's going to be opening wider and wider. And Kerberos can't even step up to lane. I mean, he has to farm from a distance with Riptide more than anything, I would say. But the fact is that the Tiamat has been finished here by Tolkien, so...
I mean, what do you do here as Kerberos when the second you try and get up towards the CS, you immediately just lose a quarter of your HP, and that's through both Courage of the Colossus and that Titan's Wrath. It's just so difficult in that scenario.
Plex coming into the mid lane again.
Trying to find a way onto Nonce, and will be able to do so. Building that warrior enchant has really paid off for him.
But like you said, Jokerism being 2-0-2 and the lead being so huge in the top lane means that although Plex could go bot lane, and I kind of talked about it maybe being a better option for him, given how that last mid lane gank went, he doesn't have to. The only lane he actually has to impact is mid lane. And he's doing it. You know, he found a good gank with Ziviz there. They comboed very nicely, and now he looks like he's working up towards the top lane. He's making it known that he is ready to try and dive, and that's going to be resulting in Demo maybe coming up towards him to at least provide an element of support, as he does make his way back towards that tier 1, which will signify that Demo is coming up, and I think that's Nocturnal Plex, fully aware of the situation, is going to go far.
Okay, why do you think he showed himself there, Plex? I mean, there was potential for a tower dive if they went for that without him showing. He went way before the minion wave. Jokerism actually locked up on a trap. There's a knock-up as well. Nice nether grasp, though, will slow him down. Jokerism steps on another trap. The damage coming on through. There's the corrupting chains landing, but Jokerism does manage to survive the situation. Oh, Nonce Hunter actually gets a shockwave onto Ziviz. He's low on HP, and there's a command protect. Nonce Hunter once again with a 1v1.
Yeah, Rengar not yet got ultimate, though. He is coming in potentially. He takes Nocturnal Plex is taken pretty low. Demo may be looking for not a flash kick, but maybe some sort of pressure. Bot lane going awry as well.
Yeah, there's a kill in the mid lane on top of that. 2 kills in the bottom lane. In fact, phenomenal play coming out from Cyclone. They're closing this gold gap. Only 500 difference right now, and Tolkien, I think, feeling the pressure, maybe trying to make something happen in the top lane, but he's actually starting to take a good amount of damage from Kerberos.
Yeah, and he's going to have to back off here. This is a bit of an awkward situation now for exceL because that mid lane has been so huge for them. They do get a tier 1 in that mid lane too off the push.
That's the first tower of the game. How on earth have exceL lost their lead? They were so far ahead, and now Cyclone, 1,000 gold of their own to be talking about with the first tower.
I think it's all through that mid lane. I think Hunter was beating Ziviz so hard 1v1 that Nocturnal Plex felt compelled to have to try and, help him out. Then Ziviz gets killed solo even after the help from Nocturnal Plex had come through. And exceL, I don't actually know what happened in the bot lane. I think that was an unfortunate series of events. Yeah, I think Jokerism was low on mana and kept stepping on traps. I think that was kind of the crux of it. But Braum is very good against Varus. Braum, excellent at blocking piercing arrows at that critical moment. And I think exceL do need to be wary because they are now behind in gold. Despite that top lane lead that is opened up for Tolkien, they need to be very careful.
And looks like Jokerism will be able to even things up in terms of the towers, so that's good news for exceL. They don't fall too far behind. Pings over towards this mid lane. Ziv is just trying to clear away the minions, make sure he's safe. Obviously, without that tier 1 tower, Ziviz is now an endangered species.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's going to mean Orcs is going to have to start providing vision for them around that mid lane. Both red side and blue side jungle entrances need to be lit up. And you can see actually some deep vision has come through already for Cyclone on that blue side jungle. It's actually just ran out now. But Jokerism feels like he's got cause now to push on to this tier 2 in the bot lane. He's actually going the Korean build that we see of Varus's, which is the Blade of the Ruin King first. A lot of high-end Korean players playing that as opposed to the Essence Reaver first that we sometimes saw coming out. Oh my word,
Latch. Look at the flash from Orcs. Look at the CC chain available. One more auto would do it, but the Unbreakable protects him until Plex arrives on the scene. Knockup does not affect him. That's the power of a Rengar. In the meantime, Ziviz just keeping Nonce Hunter away. Great teamwork out of exceL.
Yeah, they somehow claw back a situation that was slowly falling out of their grasp. What I'm so interested in is why Cyclone gave up that tier 1 in the bot lane so readily. There was no one there. It was just Jokerism and Orcs. But I think it might have been due to the lack of vision that they had around the Tri-Brush and the Dragon area that the Nocturnal Plex could have been there and that they were at risk of a dive.
Oh, Camilius actually in a lot of trouble, but Ziviz will be stunned, way overextending. His team was not able to help him out. That's a free kill. Plex will go down as well. This is bad news for exceL. They're trying to get onto Nonce Hunter. Tolkien will grab a kill for himself. Jokerism kicks back as Orcs. He's going to be looking to chase down Demo, but Lee Sin's a tricky one to grab hold of. Back onto Jokerism. Nice exhaust though coming out from Orcs. Can he finish the kills? Yes, he can. Tolkien now trying to sweep up. Got to get onto Demo, but the flash will keep him alive. Ace in the hole is a deterrent. All in all, though, 3 for 2 in favor of Cyclone. This is an incredibly close game.
This is very, very messy from both teams, though. And Ziviz has been a liability for exceL. If I'm completely honest, he has not been playing well this game. He's getting 1v1 by an Orianna. He's getting overextended in teamfights and getting exhausted and blown up. I mean, there was no way in hell his positioning in that teamfight was ever going to result in a kill. He would have been better off trying to ward people away instead of trying to force a fight and then, collapse for his team on Dragon. But Ziviz has been a real... hasn't really shone for me this game on Rise. And that's kind of been holding his team back. Tolkien now picked up the Black Cleaver, but he had to teleport down to that fight. He lost pressure on that tier 1 turret in the top lane and has allowed Kerberos a little bit of free time to get towards that Sunfire Cape. So I think it's an awkward situation for exceL right now, but I still think they have a firm grasp of the game, especially just because of how big Tolkien is at this point. He's finished the Black Cleaver that's going to give him essentially unlimited kill pressure against Kerberos, who's only got the Sunfire Cape. So despite the score lead and how the game seems to be going, I still think exceL are slightly favoured at this point.
Yeah, I think it's certainly a game that can definitely go either way. And to be honest, exceL have kind of got lucky here that they had that level 1 opportunity to really push an advantage. Yeah. And off the back of that, it gave them a lifeline to kind of fumble in the mid-game. It feels mean to say, but they absolutely have fumbled. And now that gold gap has gone completely. There's only 1,000 gold left of it. It's not that significant, and we'll see whether they can force anything off of this one, whether they can pull themselves back into the game. Tolkien has been found out up in his top lane. Demo once again on the scene. There's a flash lockdown as Demo grabs himself a kill. And exceL, a player down. They're going to really struggle to force any objectives.
Yeah, I think Tolkien, that is something that he's going to have to be careful of. Lee Sin is 7-3-2. He can collapse towards that top lane. Looks like Rift Herald's going to be picked up right now. Probably given over to Kerberos to allow his split push to be a little bit more effective. But exceL cannot do anything about it because Hunter and Latch are zoning in the mid lane. And they've lost that tier 1 turret.
Right at the start of this game, I asked you, how important is it that Demo kind of goes off on one in this game and really is impactful on this Lee Sin?
I'm surprised he's recuperated so well.
Whether it was important or not, he is dominating right now. 10 CS lead, 7 kills in his back pocket. That's as many as Plex has assists at this stage.
I mean, they're actually equal in terms of, you just literally, they essentially have the same score, but reversed. It's 2-3-7, 7-3-2.
Yeah.
So, you know, Plex has influenced as much of the map as Demo, but a hugely fed Lee Sin can be devastating to deal with. And look at this, they're actually going to provide Kerberos with a little bit of pressure in the top lane as they all rotate and take this top lane tier 1, and there's nothing for exceL to do. They can't respond because they haven't pushed that mid lane in. They've lost their mid lane tier 1, so they've lost most of the control of their red side jungle.
And that gold gap is now non-existent.
Yeah.
So
in fact, it's in slightly favour of Cyclone.
Anyone's game at this stage, and I mean, Demo at this stage just saying, Lee Sin nerfs? What Lee Sin nerfs? I didn't notice any. Gonna give away this blue buff as well to Nonce Hunter in the mid lane, so he'll be happy with that regen, be able to just clear away those minion waves ever so slightly quicker. One silver lining for exceL certainly is going to be the fact that, you know, we mentioned how Zivis hasn't really been doing that hot so far this game. He is on Rise. This is a champion that's very forgiving. So long as your team can hold on to the game, you will have a good late game.
I mean, he's got a lot of ages and he's got tiers. His wave play is pretty good right now. So they will be able to deal with the siege coming out from Cyclone should a siege opportunity ever open up for them, which I think is going to be difficult because Kerberos probably feels pressured to never leave this side lane given how much pressure Tolkien is putting down. I mean, Tolkien's hit 2 items, Black Cleaver and Ravenous Hydra. It's going to be one more and he's going to be almost unstoppable. And Nocturnal Plex has gone for the Black Cleaver himself, so he's not going for that tank Nocturne build.
Oh, Jokerism's been found. Look at the damage out of Demo. That is insane. Orcs will get caught up. Nethergrass onto Demo, though. They're trying to turn this one around. Unbreakable will protect the jungler, but not for long enough. Tolkien has arrived, and he has insane damage. 2 kills go the way of exceL. And that is going to be a huge boon for them as they push down this bottom lane. Ziv is actually using Ghost. He's looking for Nonce Hunter. Shockwave is available, though. Won't find Zivis, though. Only finds Orcs. Has to flash away, but Tolkien is there. Should be able to finish the kill. There goes the mid laner. exceL have turned this into a phenomenal situation. Plex will drop, though. Latch turning this into more. That's a second kill. Double kill for the Caitlyn. exceL, they push too hard.
Way overextended for exceL right there. There was no reason for Plex to try and look to be aggressive under the turret with a Nautilus and Caitlyn surviving. The kill onto Orianna was enough. They could have backed off. Look at this, though. Jokerism immediately flashes, and look at the response from exceL. They have an Arise that can move down immediately. The fight gets re-engaged by Orcs there, then followed up by Nocturnal Plex, and a beautiful teleport because of the position of the minion wave meant that Tolkien found an excellent flank. And then we won't probably watch the whole thing, but right at the end there, overextension by Plex, and then eventually Tolkien caused them to lose a lot of the advantages that they gained from that small engage.
I've got to say, exceL, they look like they're panicking right now. When you watch their gameplay comparatively to last game it never felt like they were kind of losing control of the game. You know, it felt like they still had a plan. They were executing it fairly slowly. It was a very slow pace, and it felt like they were struggling to achieve their plan, but they knew what it was. This game, it feels a little bit dicey. It feels a little bit like they're not 100% sure where they're going.
I honestly feel that exceL's problem this game, and it has been exceL's problem pretty much since their inception of this roster, is they don't know what their limits are. And they make a good decision and they throw it away immediately by making a stupid decision after that. And it's a concurrent slurry of good decisions and bad decisions thrown together, which will hold them back from being a top-tier team.
Uh-oh, goodbye Zivis. The Sonic Wave is not quite enough to finish it. Flash away from Zivis, and Plex using that Thrill of the Hunt should deter this Demo. Still trying to go for that one. Doesn't quite find the Sonic Wave, though. Nonce Hunter has been caught by a Nethergrasp, and that is plenty to grab a kill. exceL, yet another pick found for them, but at what cost? Can Cyclone punish it? Doesn't look like it.
No, but they can't gain much off it either, because the top lane wave has been shoving so consistently into exceL, and that mid lane is very scary to push in onto when you've got a Caitlyn and a Braum preventing you from sieging onto the tier 1. So exceL, although they get a pick, I mean, what do they do with it? They can't do anything right now. You have to wait for Zivis to push a side lane and wait for Tolkien to find a 1v1 versus Kerberos, but Kerberos is sat under his turret. There is no way he steps out into a duel with a Fiora who is just this fed at this point in time. So exceL, while they're getting picks here and there, they're not really converting it into anything. Whereas the difference we've seen from Cyclone is whenever they get a pick, they always convert it. They always find something. And that's been one of exceL's major problems. They sometimes fight for the sake of fighting as they're fighting for some sort of objective.
So the question now is, what can exceL do with this 2,000 gold lead that they've got? As you rightly said, they've been finding kills, but they've not been converting them. Where do they go from here? This mid lane tier 1 still available to them. It's equal in towers. The only difference in objectives right now is that one dragon going the way of exceL. And
I believe it was an Ocean Drake, so it's not a hugely important objective, you know, either. Tolkien's going to continue his split push here. He's 7-3-2. He's kind of like a silver lining for exceL at this point in time. You know, he's always going to have pressure versus Kerberos, and Kerberos' wave clear will eventually sort of fall off at some point. Although Kerberos has gone for an interesting build, mind you. He's gone for Banshee's Veil, not an item that we see much of these days.
No, Banshee's Veil, you know, it's an interesting one, but it will protect you from a lunge if your vitals are proccable, basically.
Yeah.
Lunge comes in from Tolkien, will protect you from that, but also the Nether Grasp from Orcs and piercing arrows from Jokers. Like there are definitely uses for it in this specific
But it's so easy
game
to proc, right? And if you miss one lunge in a sort of a tit for tat in the bot lane, are you that bothered about that one lunge? I mean, it's just it's just an interesting pickup for me. I just find it interesting. I think I might have preferred even maybe Frozen Heart. Redemption, we've seen Nautilus's pick up in the past and it's worked out excellently for them. I think Redemption would have been fine too.
Yeah, certainly an interesting pickup, but that is what he's gone for in this one, and followed it with an Aegis as well, so going to be heading towards that Locket most likely. He
might go for the Redemption after the Locket, which makes some sense, because obviously the Locket receives the benefit from the Redemption. Yeah. Boost in shielding.
Look at that wave clear. That is a very satisfying thing to achieve as that Rise Orcs. Nearly walking a little bit too deep on that one, but will walk away with his life. Doesn't get caught out just yet. Obviously that spell shield, super useful in that scenario as well. If he does get caught out, he'd be able to dodge at least or be able to block at least the concussive blows.
Nautilus went up to mid lane, maybe searching for some sort of engage around that Baron, given that Baron pressure had been accrued by Cyclone, but he's going to be forced back again because Tolkien doing exactly what a Fiora does, and now has got a GA on top of it. He is pushing that side lane like a madman. Could see a response from Demo here. Tolkien might get drawn in by trying to pressure this tier 2 too much. But no, Tolkien playing it very safe at this point in time.
Yeah, correct decision there from Tolkien. Will back away. Gets a huge amount of damage down to the tower. That's the important thing. Look at these pings on Baron from the blue side right now. Are they going to commit to this? Looks like they're heading that way. Ocean Drake started off here by exceL. They will be able to pick up that objective. I don't think we'll see this committed to. They're just trying to get
It's going to be too slow, to be honest, Munch. It's too slow for them. They don't have a team that's going to rip through Baron. You've only got 2 items on the Caitlyn. That is not a late-game Caitlyn. Jokerism didn't step on a trap there. I guess they were hoping that maybe he would.
Oh, he has now, and Nonshunter might just be able to capitalize. Can't quite get in range of the Shockwave. Plex coming into the lane. And in the meantime, we've got Tolkien just pushing away down in this bottom lane. Just a couple more auto attacks. That tower will go down, and if it does, I guarantee you Kerberos will fall with it.
Demo's doing a really good job of just staying out of the line of vision for exceL, and therefore Tolkien does not feel comfortable pushing the side lane to the extent that he probably wants to. Looks like Zivis is on the cards, and actually Cyclone have put a lot of pressure around maintaining a good vision control of this Baron. It's not going to result in much net pressure in their favor, and now Tolkien's found an opportunity where he can probably get this tier 2, because I think Demo showed quite comfortably that he was in the top lane.
Yeah, and that will finally be that objective going down. There's no one really available to rotate down. Maybe you could have seen these 3 go, but that immediately opens up the Baron.
But Tolkien knows. Tolkien is so sensible on this Fiora that any time that members of Cyclone have been away in terms of vision control. There is a Baron right now, and Cyclone are going for it.
Yeah, they clear away the vision and just immediately start this one off. 6,000 HP remaining, and it's dropping fast. You said they can't rip through Baron, but they're going for it at this stage. The smite comes through. Demo secures it. Now onto the support. Shockwave doesn't really connect as much as they wanted to. No kills yet. Tolkien kick back. Look at the exceL health bars. They're falling on this one. Orcs will drop. This is amazing for Cyclone. Demo goes in onto Jokerism. 2 members remaining. Both of the carries for exceL, but can they carry? There's another kill for Demo. Ziviz 1 versus 4 at this stage as Latch gets onto him. The CC is down. It's a double for Nonsunter and an ace with a Baron for Cyclone.
Oh, exceL did everything that their composition is not supposed to do. It is not a team fighting composition. You pick a Fiora, she will not function into hard CC, and Tolkien got obliterated for all of the benefits, sorry, for all of the advantages that he'd managed to get. They decided that they had to commit to the Baron fight, and it worked out horrifically for exceL. That is not what their composition is designed to do, and it just got turned right on its head by Cyclone. exceL are suddenly well in the backseat, and Cyclone looking to put on the pressure. And now, because this mid lane inhibitor's gone down, suddenly the split push becomes awful.
I can't believe my eyes. I can't believe what just happened. It was looking so great for exceL. They'd just taken the tier 2 in the bottom lane. Tolkien was just going to split push endlessly all game. He could go up to the top lane next. They could do whatever they wanted. And then Cyclone with the play, they decide, you know what, let's be decisive. Let's make something happen. Baron is on the cards. They force it, they take it, and then they get the perfect fight afterwards.
exceL either have to respond to this bot lane or try and push the mid lane in against the inhibitor minions. They are not saving this tier 1, that's for sure. And it looks like they haven't got the push potential to push onto this tier 1 in the mid lane. They are now on the back foot, and this is exactly where Cyclone want to be. Force exceL to group, force them into a situation where you can tower dive them, force them into that really awful team fight that they have, and you will win. And I think at this point, Cyclone, for the next 5 or so minutes, have got complete control of this game.
That is going to be the bottom lane tier 2 dropping. Look at this push coming out from Cyclone. Super minions pushing in the mid lane at the same time. You've even got a Braum to help out with the siege. They just don't do any damage. That Nautilus standing on the front line, soaking up ultimates, happy to do so. There goes the turret. Demo got the grand challenge, but there was no follow-up. Ziviz is gone. Orcs getting away from the depth charge with a flash, but Latch is looking to chase. Look at the crit going down as well. There's a second inhibitor. We've gone from 0 to 100 in this game. Cyclone are looking to finish things off. They're looking more like a tsunami than a cyclone in this game. Plex goes into the back line. Latch actually jumps into Tolkien and will be finished off. Maybe exceL can scrap something out of this one. It's going to be Jokerism trying to clean up the fight. He's locked up though. The damage is there. Kerberos finishing that one off. And all in all, Orcs trying to escape with his life. He's not going to be able to do so, or in fact he is. But there go the Nexus Towers. Nonsunter now with a Tolkien on his face, but Kerberos will be able to lock up the Fiora. That is going to be the kill finished off. Ace comes on through. Surely the game going the way of Cyclone. Ziviz is alive though. Can he save the Nexus? Can he keep the dreams alive? I don't think so. Cyclone with a whirlwind comeback.
I mean, that was insane from Cyclone. Absolutely ridiculous.